problems similar to 1 through 4. We have square root of x squared cube root of x. Okay, the directions said write these with rational exponents. So I'm telling you to write this without radicals. A square root is the same as what power? So everything is under the square root, so everything is to the 1/2 power. Then we have an x squared. We have a cube root of x, so that would be x to the
1/3.
So let's work inside this parenthesis first of all. If you are multiplying the x's, what do you do with those exponents?
To 7/3.
And then power to a power, so we get x to the 7/6. Alright, number 5. So I'm asking you for domain. When we're dealing with these domains, we had 2 sets of rules. If it was an odd radical, what is the domain automatically? If it's an even radical, we know that if you get a negative under your radical, you get an imaginary number. So that means whatever is under the radical has to be greater than or equal to 0. So 9x has to be greater than or equal to -18. So x greater than or equal to -2. So then interval notation, it's starting at -2 equal to means bracket, and then everything larger. So -2 to infinity. Anything else on that page? Did you guys get number 9 okay? And 10?
That's me.
Almost 9.
Okay, let's look at it. Alright, first step on a radical problem is to isolate the radical. We need to get it by itself. So I could subtract this x. Then I have a negative square root of x plus 3 equals -1 minus x. Then what do we need to do? So we get square root of x plus 3 equals 1 plus x. Then to get rid of a square root, so those cancel. So we have x plus 3. On the right hand side we have to FOIL. So we get 1 plus 2x plus x squared. So quadratic, we like to set it equal to 0, so subtract over the x, subtract over the 3. So we need what multiplies -2 and adds to +1? So if you set those equal to 0, we get -2 and +1. Right, I've told you on these radicals, when you start squaring, sometimes you get answers that don't work. If we put in -2, you get -2 minus 1, which is not -1. So the -2 doesn't work. If you put in the 1, you get 1 minus 2, which is -1, so it does. So only answer is x equals 1. So now let's go to 11. There are 2 different approaches to solving this problem. And they both work equally well. So what did you guys do? Okay. So you guys realize this is like a quadratic. So we can treat it like a quadratic. So if we slip and slide, we get x -2 plus x -1 minus 12. so then what do we need to do? So, let's reduce this to 2/3, so that's 3x to the negative 1 plus 2. 3/6 is 1/2, so that's 2x to the negative 1 minus 1. Alright. Make sure you know what this means. We set them each to 0. Three x to the negative 1. The negative exponent only hits the x. So this is saying 3 over x. So 3 is equal to negative 2x. 5 and x is negative 3/2. So this one, 2x to the negative 1 means 2 over x. So you can multiply over the x, and you get x equals 2.
I just move over 3 that's on top to the right. That's how I don't solve it out, I just move it.
To the bottom. Is that what you're saying?
He just moves the top one up to the.
Onto the other number. I move that 3 onto
To the
negative 2.
denominator of the other. You're basically using the reciprocal property that says, then this means x over 3 equals negative 1/2. And multiplying it over, so that works the same.
Okay.
That's why that works. Other questions? Alright. We did okay on 12.
I honestly don't know what's to the answer.
Negative 2/9 and positive 2.
I do not.
Okay, let's check it.
I have to. That's all I know.
So, if we want to get rid of the square root, we can square. Square each side, so that cancels this radical and that. So then we have a 2 square root of 7x plus 2 equals 3x plus 2. So then, so 2 squared is 4. Square root of 7x plus 2 squared. And then what do we have to do on the right? So we get 9x squared, 12x plus 4. So 12x minus 28x is 16x. 4.
I did get it right. I wrote down the wrong number, which is why I didn't get both answers.
Oh, so when you checked the wrong number, it didn't work. So slip and slide. What multiplies to negative 36 and adds to negative 16?
Negative 18, positive 2.
And we have to divide by 9. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. This would be 9x plus 2. So if we set those equal to 0, we get a positive 2 and a negative 2 ninths. And when you check them, they do both work. When do you have to remember to check a problem?
All the time.
When you square both sides.
Right, when you start squaring both sides. Alright. Next question on our list, problem 15. I didn't tell you how to decide if it was 1-to-1, so you can use either method. The algebraic way is the f of a equals f of b thing, which is probably a little bit harder.
I use that method.
Okay. So if you add your sixth over, divide by 2. And then to get rid of a square, you square root. But if you add a square root, what do you have to add with it? Plus or minus. So already I can see, because of that plus or minus, is this 1-to-1? No. You could also look at a graph. You can recognize that this is just a parabola. I don't know if you shift it over, but when you're looking at this parabola, what do you see?
It doesn't.
Yeah. So fails the horizontal line test. So not 1-to-1. So you could do either method there. Vertical test if it's a function. Horizontal test 1-to-1. 16, everybody knows how to draw those graphs, and when I ask for apparent functions and transformations, you can handle that. Make sure you are plotting your minimum of 3 exact points, and if it moves up or down, draw in your asymptote wherever it moves to. Let's talk about an inverse problem. Let's do number 18. These are going to be worth a lot of points because there's a lot of steps involved. So you have to know what you're doing. What is the first step? So step 1, f of x becomes a y. What's step 2?
Switch to y.
So a y becomes x and my x's become y's. What's step 3? Right, we're trying to solve for y. So to get rid of our fraction, we multiply that over. We get xy minus x equals y plus 2. The problem that I'm seeing is right here people factor out an x and they're trying to solve for x. I want to solve for y. So you need your y's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract this y. This doesn't have a y, so I'm going to move it. Add my x. Then what would you do? So final step to get y by itself would be divide. At the end, instead of y, what do I have you write?
Add to the -1.
So that would be x plus 2 for x minus 1.
So
Alright.
the inverse of a function should be what the function is.
Only if the original function is symmetric across the line y equals x.
I understand what you just said.
Big words.
Basically, if you took all the ordered pairs on the original function and you flip them,
I don't like that.
it's still on the original function.
I don't like
So
that.
it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen.
I don't like that.
Domain and range. This is where I've noticed a big issue. I have some people that just want to write d equals and r equals, and that's not okay because there's 4 things I'm asking you to find. So if you want to write domain of the function, range of the function, domain of the inverse, range of the inverse, and list out 4 things, you
Gosh, just
can.
don't do that.
Or you could remember the domain of the function, the x's in the original, those become y's, so that's the range of the inverse. If I look at my original, it's a fraction, what can x not be? So negative infinity to 1, meaning 1 to infinity. Right? The range of my function, the y's in the original become my x's, so that's the domain of the inverse. If I look at my inverse, what can x not be?
1.
Let's put that in.
It's just the same, okay?
Oh, because the function was its own inverse.
That's nothing going on. I went back and made sure I was doing everything right.
First step,
Change the x to y.
second step,
Switch the x and the y.
third step.
Times y by y plus 2.
Trying to solve for y, so multiply, get rid of this fraction. Okay, if I'm trying to solve for y, what could I do with this 2x?
Subtract it.
And then,
Divide by x.
so,
Inverse.
domain of the function is range of the inverse. Look at my original function. What can x not be? Range of the function equals the domain of the inverse. So if I look at my inverse, what can x not be?
You just want to use the chart that I have for the.
The binomial, sorry. Is that one okay? One, two. Alright. Different options for what to do first here. Give me a suggestion. What'd you do?
First you fix the 3.
How'd you fix it?
3 to negative 1/2.
Not to the negative, just the 1/2.
Oh, just 1/2, yeah. I failed that question. Because I made it negative.
Okay. So now we have the same base on each side, so that means okay, do we like having a fraction if we're trying to do box method?
No, ma'am.
No. So let's multiply by 2.
Still works.
8x squared plus 2x minus 1 equals 0. Alright, then what do we do?
Back there again.
So that would be x plus 4 minus 2. Divide those by 8. So 4 divided by 8 is 1/2. So 2x plus 1. 2 divided by 8 is 1/4. So 4x minus 1.
I just subtracted the 1/2 over and just went on with it. And
You
did
do
something side to
slip
side.
and slide with that, which it works because
It's
when you do
amazing.
the 4, it gets rid of the fraction, but if, otherwise it would have been, if the fraction didn't disappear, then it wouldn't have worked. So set those equal to 0, so you get negative 1/2, positive 1/4. I did see some people even start out squaring each side to get rid of the square root, and that would have worked also.
Why?
If you squared each side, then it would be 3 to the 8x squared plus 2x equals 3 to the first,
Oh, wow, that's.
and then you could work from there. So,
Ah,
lots of options for that one.
math is so weird.
Alright, 24. Alright, can I break down 2/3?
No, but you can break down the other.
Okay, so I'm going to leave this. So I need this to be a 2/3.
Yes, ma'am.
How?
You do
81 is the same as 3 to the 4th. 16 is the same as 2 to the 4th. Since I need them flipped, we have to do a negative 4th power,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's still to the x plus 1.
She knows how to do it.
So then what do we do with those exponents?
Then you multiply them.
And then,
Then you just bring down your, you set the.
so if we add our 4x over, add over the 1, are you fixing it if you have any mistakes there? Is that making sense? Alright. Then we got into the inequalities. So remember I told you with these inequalities, if you want things to work nicely, make sure your base is greater than 1, always, which I don't even know if that was an issue on any of these. Alright, so 32 and 16, what's my common base?
2.
So 32 is 2 to the, 16 is 2 to the, so this is 2 to the 5x, less than or equal to 2 to the 4 minus 4x. Since my base is greater than 1, we just keep them as is, so we get 9x less than or equal to 4. So x is less than or equal to 4/9. So how do we write that? Is that okay? So technically we could use 5 or 1/5 for the base here, but because it's inequalities it works better if the base is greater than 1, so let's use 5. So the cube root of 5, we would write that as 5 to the 1/5, that would be 5 to the 5 to the negative 1/3 x, then 5 to the negative x minus 2. So now we can drop the exponents. So if we add our x over, divide by 2/3 or multiply by the reciprocal. Less than, that means negative, and d to negative.
What's funny?
So far, so good? Alright, next one, 27. What's my common base on this one?
5.
We could do 5/3 or 3/5, but if it's an inequality, we want the base to be bigger than 1, so let's go with the 5/3. That way we don't have to do any other fancy math. Okay. So 9 over 25. What can I make that? 5/3 to what power? X greater than or equal to 2 plus 10x. Subtract that 10x over. Divide by -9, which splits the inequality. 2 Okay? 29. Alright, so it says in 72 months. So that's my time.
6 years.
But I told you you always have to have time in years. So to get months into years, divide by 12 months in a year, so that's 6 years. You must have $12,000. So what we want to end with, that is our A value. What amount invested today? So I'm looking for the right now. So that's my P. At 1.7%, so my rate would be
0.017.
compounded monthly. We'll give you that. So I would give you the formulas, but I don't tell you how to use them.
Oh, so you'll give us the form, that's actually good news,
You
cause
don't know, you have it memorized already? A equals PERT, man.
I know that part, I mean, that's kinda hard to forget, I just forgot about the last part right there, the NT.
So easiest way to get this is just do it all on the calculator. We have 12,000
I love the calculator.
divided by this.
Is that like a declaration? That was.
I love the calculator, it's just so gorgeous.
So if you plug that all in,
10,837 and 14 cents.
since it is money, make sure you are putting a dollar sign and rounding to 2 decimal places.
Yeah, are we done? No.
We have a few more questions that we want to hit. All right. You're struggling today.
Well, at the end part of it.
My math ain't nothing. I literally have the exact same thing.
Say you just plugged it in the calculator wrong. You used 1.7 for your rate instead of 0.017. You're welcome. Okay, so 2 things that I've had requests for a little extra practice on. I want you guys to try these, so scrap paper or something. Here's some problems for you. So I want some like 1 through 4, so practice with these exponents.
I don't have piece of paper. Not to do enough on this whole new sheet. Loosely.
Gotta do these wrong, she might get mad.
I do have a template.
You were munching.
I know.
Y, the 5th root of y, so that's y to the 1/5. The square root of y to the 7th, so the square root of y, that's y to the 1/2 to the 7th. What do you do with that power to a power?
Good afternoon,
So
Monroe
they
City
would
High
add
School.
those.
These are your daily afternoon announcements. Any of you that missed the meeting today needs to stop by room 31 and see Miss Spalding regarding prom info.
Square root is a
For a limited
1/2.
time, you can buy candy during,
4th root is a 1.
or for $2 from Miss Kendrick. Please come during the end of each class period or
Power to
between
a
classes.
power, you multiply.
Yearbooks are still on sale. The last day to order will be March 31st.
So on top and bottom, what do you
Bring
do?
money to Mr.
Where
Curry
does
or
it end?
Mr. Wade,
Top or
On the
bottom?
bottom.
Mr.
Bottom,
Curry
because
or
that's
Mrs.
bigger,
Wade,
so 4/3 minus 1, 8.
or you can do it at Justin.com. Last summer, but baseball and softball sign-up forms are in the high
That's
school
what I got.
I thought it
office.
was
The
29.
deadline is March
I'm at
31st,
29.
and no late forms are accepted. Information from Miss Murphy. Upcoming deadlines to turn scholarships
Inverse. F of x to y.
into Miss Murphy or submit online are March 15th, Roll
Switch x
County
and
Mutual
y.
Insurance, BNS Insurance of Marion County, Monroe County Mutual
Multiply the y
Insurance,
minus 3.
Lions Club, Student Council, and Red Cross. March 24th, shelter insurance,
The Y's on
George
the same
Hazel.
side.
Thomas L. Jones. If you are
Everything
interested
else
in
on the
Boys and
other.
Girls State, please come to the counseling office.
Factor
There
of
are many
Y.
leadership academies in the newsletter. Stop in to see me if you have questions about any of these opportunities.
All right, good afternoon, Meadow City High. Couple of other announcements. Potato Bowl. Today was supposed to be the day that you were supposed to pay, for your potato bowl. I'm gonna extend a little bit of grace. We need to know first thing in the morning with your money. So you must come either after school today or tomorrow morning to pay Miss Lee. Secondly, no high school student needs to be over in the elementary or middle